Happy Friday, y'all. All right, it's your legacy building coach, LaShawn E. Michael Esquire, and we are talking about debt management in the Inner Circle Collective. And we've been talking about debt management. We've been talking about all the things in regards to your debt in the big picture. Of course, on Wednesday, we started the conversation off with some things that you all need to be looking at. We're going to continue that conversation. So, again, happy Friday. You're in the Inner Circle Collective. And this is your Legacy Builder Coach, LaShawn E. Michael Esquire. And we're going to get right into it in regards to debt management, your debt, the big picture. We also going to talk about the Shopping Free Challenge, but let's get into the debt management, your debt, and the big picture. Of course, on Wednesday we talked about a few things I told you all to do. So we're going to recap those really quickly. I told you all to look at your bills. I told you all to write down your bills and write down the amounts you owe, the interest rates, how much you should be paying above the minimum payment based on your interest rates. And then I told you all to go and pull your credit report from annualcreditreport.com. So we're going to start from this point again. So I told you all to go to annualcreditreport.com. Remember, as I told you all on Wednesday, that this is a free, let me say that again, FREE, opportunity for you to pull up your credit report from all three credit bureaus, meaning Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, in regards to seeing what is your debt and what are your debt outcomes. Okay, so you want to pull that up. As I told you, it's an annual thing. So if you pull it up at a certain time this year, you have to wait until after that date next year to pull it up again. But this is something that is monitored and given to us from the federal government. I don't remember how many years ago that this has been in place, but I have been doing this for years. I pull up my credit reports every year, and I pull up my parents' credit reports every year. Now, just my dad. Remember, if you are married, your credit reports are combined. So, my dad's credit report I pull up also, and I get all three. You can print them out. You can also save them. But the point of doing this is you want to go through your credit report line by line, and you want to make sure that the debts that you have up there are correct. You also want to make sure that the credit limits for your credit cards and your debt are correct. And you want to make sure that you have no negative marks, that you have no hard or soft inquiries. And if you do, understanding that hard inquiries does affect your score and it takes time to get off. A soft inquiry does not. And I say that because credit cards usually will run a soft inquiry on your credit report all the time to just see how you are doing, to see if they're going to increase your credit limit. So if you are abusing your credit limit already, or you're over the 30 recommended 30%, then it's a chance they will not increase it. But they do soft inquiries every now and again just to see what your credit history in life is looking like at the time. So you do want to make sure that you are looking to check on your credit report for any inaccuracies. If you have inaccuracies, you want to then go to that credit report contact information, which usually is at the end of the report, to report to them that your credit limit is incorrect, the amount of the debt is incorrect, etc. Remember that your credit report not only has your revolving debt, but it also has any install debts, any personal loans, any medical bills you owe, and now these buy now, pay later is also reflected on your credit reports. And I told you all I was going to talk briefly about that this week because I wanted you to understand that those Shop Pays, Affirm, Klarna, Afterpay, those are now being reported on your credit report, and it is affecting your scores. So, in regards to the credit report again, I want y'all to do a few things. Look and make sure that your debt is accurate, that all your credit cards and all your debt is up there, including your mortgage, your car payment, your installment payments, etc. You want to make sure that information is accurate. You also want to make sure that your credit limits are accurate because that affects your debt to credit ratio, which we will talk about later in the month. but you want to make sure that that is accurate. And you're also checking for missed payments, any medical bills or things that you have forgotten about and you have not paid that you could now be in collections for. You want to look for hard and soft inquiries, and you want to look for any negative marks, okay? So after you got your credit report, you now want to check your credit score. The reason the credit score is important because you all know the credit score is a FICO 8 score, and it goes from 350 to 850. 350 is the lowest you can have, 850 is the highest you can have, and that is a perfect credit score. Of course, there are ranges from each score. It goes from poor to good to very good to excellent. Okay? And I will give you those ranges later in the coming weeks in January. But you want to check your credit score because your credit score and your credit report are so important when you're trying to buy big ticket items. Also, your credit score is important because if you are not managing your debt well, it is now showing and reflecting on your credit report. Remember your credit score, excuse me. Remember, your credit score is based on the 5 things that they're looking for to generate your credit score. And we're going to get into that next week and telling you in regards to some of the things on your payment history, just to give you a sampling, your debt to credit ratio. So if you are above 30% or a third of your limit on your credit cards or on most of your credit cards, it's going to affect your score. The type of credit you got, so your credit mix is important. Okay, your payment history is important. Okay, so you want to make sure that your payment and you're paying on time. And so they're looking at certain factors to come up with your credit score. And remember, your credit score changes each month, and it also changes from credit bureau to credit bureau. So Experian may have a different number than Equifax. Equifax may have a different number than Experian or TransUnion, but you want to get your credit score because you want to make sure that those scores are at least lining up. There may be a few points up or down, but you want to make sure they're lining up. You don't want to be in the poorest credit range on TransUnion and then you're seeing something else on Equifax. Again, why these things are important, because I know for me, when I was looking to buy my second home, all these things matter. So you want to make sure that this information is accurate. So after you've reviewed your your report, you got your credit score, you then want to get into someone monitoring your credit. Meaning, for me, I have LifeLock. I got LifeLock years ago because I've had several incidents of people skimming my debit card because I used to use my debit card at gas stations. I also have had problems with people just using my accounts and then I get a fraud notice. Well, without some kind of credit monitoring, whether that's through your bank, whether it's through one of your credit cards, whether it's a system like LifeLock, also, I have done Lending Tree and other Experian also does a monitoring. So you want to make sure that you have some type of credit monitoring in place. A lot of your credit cards now are doing it for free. They're also providing your credit score monthly for free. I know for Discover, for example, they put your credit score on your bill every month. So you want to make sure that you are having and keeping top of mind your credit score. And the way to do that is through some form of credit monitoring, whether it's through your bank, whether it's through a credit union, or through another private entity that you're working with. Make sure that you are looking at your credit score. Then lastly, the thing that you need to consider, now that you've seen your debt, now you've seen your interest rates, now you know how much you're paying per month, now you have looked at your credit report, it appears to be accurate. You have now checked your score. That appears to be accurate based on what is happening with your debt. And as I told you, if your debt is over 30%, your score is going to be affected. The goal is to keep your debt down really on each credit card or any type of big installment payment is to try to get it down below 30%, ideally 10%. And we'll talk about that next week. But you want to make sure you're monitoring it, because if your credit cards are inching up as far as what you owe, it is going to affect your score. Again, you're looking at installments, you're looking at these now, buy now, pay later. They warned us last year that these were going to be on your credit report starting in the end of last year, but definitely in 2026. So you want to make sure that that is in place and you're looking at it and you're monitoring it and controlling it. There's nothing wrong with using them, but please, please do not be late, because just like these payday loans, just like these car lease, car title loan places, the interest rate will be astronomical for something that you bought for $100. So you want to be mindful. So after you've looked at that, you've monitored your score, now you need to start looking at payment options. And those payment options could be consolidation, it could be transfer balance on interest-free loan, it could be borrow money off your home. I do not advise this, but people do it all the time. So I'm just throwing it out here on your home equity, or you can get a HELOC. We'll talk about that in the future, but you need to start looking at some payment options. And you also need to look at some alternative payment options. If you are way in over your head with this debt, there's no time like January 2026 or the beginning of the year of any year to start looking at either some credit repair companies or consolidation companies, or someone who can negotiate your debt, etc. So we'll talk about some tools that you can start using next week, but those are the things I wanted you all to get from the conversation from Wednesday until today on Friday in regards to debt management, your debt, the big picture. We have all been there, and let me say I have been there, that I have been overwhelmed and overwrought with credit card debt. You can get over this, you can overcome it, and you can maintain and keep a great credit score so you can have the things you want, like a home or a new car or a personal loan that you need to use for any reason, medical crisis, etc. But I promise you, once you get this debt managed, you can then start saving, you can then start investing, and then the investments include estate planning and things that you need to continue to build your legacy. Because around here, we are building legacies that's going to last a lifetime, and that means pass your time on earth and extend on to your family so your children's children can have an inheritance. But before I go on Friday, that's the conversation this week in regards to your debt, your big picture. We're going to come back next Wednesday and we're going to start talking about these tools to help you get out of debt. So we're going to start talking about that next week. So be ready, come with your notebooks, come ready and come prepared. We're going to do it again. And this time, I told you all we are starting a shopping freeze challenge. It started this week. This week, you were supposed to give up a treat. My give up this week for a treat was Starbucks. I have not had Starbucks for a week. I love Starbucks coffee, even though I make coffee in my office when I go to work. However, I work from home some days, and I make coffee at home. However, when I go out, I run an errand, I pick up a cup of Starbucks coffee. Remember, start small in regards to things that you need to piece away. Remember, the only thing that you need to be maintaining at this time are your bills that you got to pay. Car note, mortgage, food, gas, maintenance for your car, those kind of utilities. Those things are non-negotiable. Okay, I'll throw in ties for me and auto saving, but that's something I do. But the basic necessities have to be taken care of. What we want to do is start taking and piercing away these things that we know kind of and dig into our spirit, such as buying coffee that you don't need when you can make coffee at home. I also have a Keurig. So again, this week was treats. Next week I'm going to reveal on Wednesday, and I'll have on the page what we'll be giving up next week. And this is going to continue. So if you've given up a treat this week, mine's at Starbucks, we're going to the end of the month. January 31st, we want to keep this going, because the goal is for you to see how much you're spending on discretionary items and then start redirecting that money towards your debt or savings or investing. So I'm telling you all, we're building blocks here, we're building blocks here, and that is where we're going because I want y'all to get that money is an overwhelm for a lot of people. Finances is an overwhelm for a lot of people. And to avoid that being the case, you got to start taking small incremental steps to start getting yourself at a healthy point that you reimagine how you're looking at money. Okay? This is the year to reimagine your relationship and your mindset about money. It is a resource, okay? It is a resource, okay? But and I know the Bible says money is the root of all evil, but God also tells you it's a resource. It is you give your gifts and talents to what you believe in and what your purpose to do. So you can't get into your purpose until you get this kind of under control in regards to just discretionary, mindless spending, being in debt, because remember, you are a lender, not a borrower. Okay? So you want to get to a point that you don't leave your family overwhelmed with all this debt when you pass away, and you're not living in overwhelm about debt that is paralyzing you from doing the things you need to do and doing the things that you like to do. Because trust me, I do a whole bunch of things that I love to do, and you can too, and we can together. I'm here to help you because I'm walking through these steps. I told y'all at the beginning of the week, I too have to control my debt. It is a constant work for me because, as my mother used to say, I don't have chint nor child. So I always feel like I can do what I want to do with my money. But as a disciplined, controlled person in 2026, and a person who was trying to set up a legacy, not only for myself in retirement, etc., but also for my family when I'm gone, and to enjoy life without the stress of money, because money should not be stressful, because remember, the goal is money is a resource. Okay? When you get your mind that this is a resource like food and everything else, that you need it to live, but it can't consume you. It's just like if you overeat, it starts affecting your body. If you eat the wrong things, it starts to affect your body. Money operates the same way. If you get money and you're frivolous with the money, you know what the end will be. Debt, and for a lot of people, loss of lifestyle. Okay, so that's why this month we are tackling debt management. I hope this has been helpful. Remember, the Inner Circle Collective is here to help you reflect, evolve, grow, and we're going to grow together because remember, a community that grows together stays together. We are working with you with these 5 pillars. Remember, the 5 pillars is finance. I'm your financial coach, career, spirituality, relationships, and wellness. All the things that benefit all of us and not something that you can keep for yourself. You can share this with your family. I want y'all to join the Inner Circle now because you're going to continue to get tidbits like this. Tomorrow, Denise Merriweather will be teaching a class about starting your year off right at 10 a.m. It's going to be live. Please join us. We hope to see you there. And again, join the Inner Circle Collective. This was going to transform your life because we're into transformative living and the renewing of your mind. And these 5 pillars will help you in every area of your life. All right, debt management, your debt, the big picture. That's what we learned this week. I'll see you next Wednesday at 10 a.m. in the Circle Collective, y'all. Legacy Builder Coach LaShawn E. Michael Esquire. Bye for now. Have a great weekend.